I'm Eric Wolf, and my experience in business peer groups has changed my life, especially my membership in Vistage, one of the world's largest CEO advisory groups. I'm an entrepreneur, a business owner, and a Vistage speaker on the power of marketing. This podcast is dedicated to the people who make those experiences possible, the peer group chairs. Every episode, I interview a Vistage chair who has dedicated their time to helping entrepreneurs like me succeed. My guest today is Ramona Wink, and thank you, by the way, Ramona, for having a very easy name. Sometimes, it's a challenge, and I don't like figuring out 20 minutes in that I've been pronouncing somebody's name wrong the whole time. So Ramona Wink, thank you for keeping it simple. I appreciate it. Ramona is a Vistage chair based in Des Moines, Iowa. She's got a CE group, and we are having the privilege of talking to a fairly newly minted Vistage chair. So we're going to hear all about the challenges that come with that first year of doing this.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ramona.
Yeah, I'm excited to be with you, Eric. Vistage is a passion of my heart, and I'm excited to have this opportunity to chat.
Very cool, and I love that, a passion of the heart.
Yeah.
So what made Vistage a passion for you? How did it go from this might be something that I'm going to do to now it's a passion?
I really had never heard of Vistage, Eric, before a very dear friend of mine who I would call a mentor to me that I do some work for. I do business consulting for that company. He's the CEO of that company and has been a 10-year Vistage member. And he said to me, he said, Ramona, I think you'd make a great Vistage speaker. And I said, don't know anything about Vistage. I do a lot of speaking, motivational speaking, but tell me more. And so he lined me up with his chair, Bob Vedrell, and I met with Bob a couple times, and Bob said, Ramona, I think you'd make a great Vistage speaker, but I think you'd make a better Vistage chair. And I said, Bob, I know nothing about what a chair does, right? And so can you tell me more? And so he, of course, did. And then I was fortunate enough, there was the Iowa Nebraska Vistage Summit, Eric, coming up at that time. And I was able to go as a guest. And there were probably two or 300 CEOs, Vistage members in the room. And I just went around and really asked them, why did you join Vistage and what can you tell me? And as a mental health therapist, I am trained to pick up on patterns very quickly. And the pattern that I heard resoundingly was Vistage is the best business decision I've ever made. And my only regret is I wish I had joined earlier. And so that was enough for me to throw my name in the hat. And as maybe your viewers know, maybe they don't, it's a process to be selected to be a Vistage chair. You have to
It
go through
is.
Academy and then be selected and all of that. So at least I was throwing my hat in
And
the ring, so to speak. And that was very interesting to me. And then I went
and then
through
you've got
Academy.
the privilege of building your own group. It's not even done at that point. You've still there's still a whole other gauntlet. So yeah, good. Keep
Correct.
going.
Building your own group, Eric, as I tell people all the time, is probably the most beautiful, but the most hard work I've ever done in my life. And I believe I'm a very gritty person. I set personal goals for myself, which are very high, and I've been fortunate to achieve many of those. And so it is not for the faint of heart. Again, you're asking CEOs and top leaders in your area to make an investment in themselves and their company and take one day a month out of their very busy schedule and make a financial commitment as well. And so it's hard work. Vistage, talks about the climb a lot, and it is
Right.
like climbing a mountain. And so it is not for the faint of heart, but like I said, probably the most beautiful work and the most life-giving work I've had the privilege to do.
And you're definitely not alone in the opinion that it is. Many Vistage chairs have told me that building their first group was probably the biggest challenge they had ever gone through as a professional. So
Yeah.
it's a common opinion, and definitely, but but now it's become a passion, and you've described that in such beautiful terms, by the way. That's really nice.
Well, thank you. As a mental health therapist, I work for 515 Therapy and Consulting in West Des Moines, and I'm very passionate about that work as well, Eric. That allows me to sit with clients in my office, which is a beautiful thing, and help them, overcome whatever goals or objectives they're facing, or obstacles, I should say. With Vistage, it's a little broader net, right? And that's what really attracted me to that is that I could be with CEOs and presidents of companies and help them with their personal life and their professional life and feel like I was exponentially helping more people, than sitting in the therapy chair, which I still do. I'm very thankful to have both. I'm a Vistage chair and a mental health therapist, and it's a great combination.
And so, and I saw that in your bio, and I was so intrigued because while I have met Vistage chairs that have come from a very, very wide variety of backgrounds, this is the first time that I think I've talked with somebody that was actually, or and still a practicing therapist, but that's the world that you came from, and so I'm so interested to hear where you see the overlap between having the person on the couch, so to speak, and the people in your group. What are the commonalities between that work?
Yeah. There are some commonalities and then there's some major differences. So that's a great question, Eric. The commonalities are when I'm doing my one-to-ones with my Vistage members, my goal is to really identify what their goals and objectives are, not only for their business life, but for their personal life, and then help them find ways to achieve that. That's the same work I do with my mental health therapy clients as well. What I don't do for Vistage members, obviously, because I'm not their therapist, is I
Right,
don't diagnose them, right? I don't bill their insurance for a
right.
session, all of that. But there are similarities between coaching and therapy. And I think my therapy education and my training and my experience with 515 Therapy and Consulting really does allow me to be a very adept Vistage chair. And I tell my members all the time, I highly doubt that you'll bring something in our one-to-ones that I haven't heard from somebody else. And that just helps normalize their issue, whatever it is. And I think that because I am a therapist, they do know that I'm very comfortable if they want to bring the personal stuff. And I think Vistage members can lean on their chairs more for that probably because it's lonely at the top and those top executives bring their whole authentic self to work, I hope, and so they need their chair to really listen on what's going on at that home front as well. So my members know that I'm very willing to wade into those dark scary waters sometime, and I'm not going to run out of the room with my hair on fire.
I didn't hear any of that. I'm actually still processing the part where I've been thinking, is there a way that I can get my insurance to pay for my Vistage membership? That would be absolutely outstanding. Like
Wouldn't that be great?
somebody needs to make that happen.
Right, right. Absolutely. No, that's a really interesting concept, right? Because Vista's chairs, in my opinion, really are about helping their members lead a more healthy, balanced, abundant life on every area, business, personal, and health wise, mental, physical, and spiritual. So I think you're onto something. That would be great.
I think that somebody's got to take the lead on that and make that happen.
Absolutely.
That would be terrific.
Correct.
But legitimately, I would imagine that because I think that there's an element, and I've heard a lot of other chairs talk about it, where people come into the room for the first time and they don't really know that they're allowed to be vulnerable. They don't really know that they're allowed to share whatever it is that's holding them back at the moment. And I would imagine that you're able to because of your background and because people will know that about you right at the first meeting. Do you think that people get over that hump faster in your group because you've got sort of that built-in trust that like no, this is it's actually okay to share with me.
That's an excellent question too, Eric. Yes, I do think we get over that hump quicker, and I think we go deeper quicker. I remember one of my members had a personal issue, and that member and I had certainly processed that in our one-to-one. And then the next meeting, that member put the check-in numbers, and those numbers were low, obviously, right? Because there was a lot going on in the personal life.
Right.
And I looked at that member and I said, I believe that you have benefited from me helping you process this issue, but the number one reason that you joined this group is to have the group experience. I would like to invite you to share what's going on with the group. And I'll never forget it, Eric. That member looked at me and said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "I am." I said, "I'm not going to push you, but I said, my professional recommendation is you share with the group." And so that member did. And wow, I mean, the floodgates opened, and that was a beautiful experience for everyone because that member felt safe to share what was going on. And it took the group to a whole new level.
I can imagine, and I would say that typically, based on my experience and my knowledge, while it's not out of the ordinary for a personal issue to be processed in a Vistage group, I would say that it's far below the number of business issues that get processed. Everybody wants to talk about, the sales guy that they have to fire and this year's numbers and making things work. But do you feel like you guys have more of that personal aspect to is your do you think your members are having a more balanced experience in terms of between the personal and the business and how those things interrelate?
I do. And I credit that to that one member who was willing to model the way. And also my group has been trained. We definitely follow the Vistage, what I'll call funnel for issue processing. We definitely follow that model.
Right.
And I taught them very early on that part of those clarifying questions, we have to use the F word, and the F word is feelings. You need to ask that person, how does that make you feel? And the first time I did that, I'll be honest with you, they were like, "Oh, Ramona, we don't want to go there." And I'm like, "Well, you've got a therapist as a chair, right? So we're going there." So I could push them from my professional background, and they knew I would push them. And now they're very adept at talking about the F word, and it's not a scary word anymore. We talk about feelings, and they've gotten very skilled about looking at that whole person in front of them who is processing their issue.
I've been known to use a different F word when talking about my problems in Vistage, but
Correct.
but yours is good too.
Right. Exactly.
Maybe healthier.
Right.
So
We hope
so
so.
so you officially launched. We're recording this in April. I don't know when we're actually gonna air this episode, but we're recording this in April, and so you are officially now about 10 months in to your first CE group. What other than forming the group, which is known to be a big challenge, what are the things that have gone better than you expected? What are the things that were harder than you expected? What were the trials and tribulations of the first 10 months like?
A mantra that I used all throughout, Eric, was I refuse to be discouraged. And I'm led by my faith. And so it's my faith in God that helps me know that God is putting the right people in my group at the right time. I'm also very thankful to have the support of my wife and also my pod group that came out of Vistage Academy. We meet on a weekly basis. And I tell you, Eric, there's nothing like having that common experience with other new chairs who have launched like me or are still in the process of that. And we help each other on the climb, right? And sometimes we've taken 3 steps back, but somebody else has taken 2 steps forward, and there's a hand out to say, come on, we're going to get there together. And so I think that's been the beautiful part. And then also remembering that it's not a numbers thing. I don't
Right.
think of any Visage share that gets in it for the monetary reasons. At least I hope not. I think we all get in it to serve others. And I think we all think of ourselves as servant leaders. And so I think there's also an art of building at the right pace. One of my members said, Ramona, we've got to form and storm and norm and then perform. And if you brought in, let's say 3 new members at a time, that storming phase of the process would be really hard. And so give yourself some grace and be patient, which is not easy for me. I'm a very want to have it happen yesterday kind of a gal. So that's been work that I've had to do on my own. Is that, Ramona, there's a right pace. God has the right people. Trust in the process, and the group is going to continue to evolve in the way that it's supposed to, and the right people are going to be around the table.
And by the way, I believe even just knowing you for 20 minutes, I actually believe that about you, about never be discouraged.
Yeah.
That's
And and
that's
and but that has
that's
taken that
cool.
mantra, right? I mean, I tell my therapy clients all the time, let's have a mantra. I can get discouraged with the best of them. I can have a pity party, but it is that mantra that every day I get up and say, I refuse to be discouraged. And that has helped me.
And I don't know if it's a motto or a mantra, but you have one within your Vistage group as well, which is
And that is, we are better together. And I can see that thread, Eric, all through my life. I believe that whether people believe in a higher power or not, I believe that all of us as human beings are on this earth and we are created to be in community. And so that is a very strong thread that pulls through my life. We need people around us, and so Vistage supplies that opportunity in a beautiful, time tested, proven way. And my group bought into that. My personal why from the get go: we are better together.
that's very cool. Um, what's what are you how are you going to celebrate your year? You're almost there. What is the birthday party for a Vistage chair look like?
Right. And I tell you what, I haven't thought that far. It's just a couple months down the road, so I need to be thinking on that. So thank you for that reminder. But I just want to lift up each and every one of my members, especially my founding members, Eric, who said yes before we launched. That's a big deal, right? For
Oh
every
yeah.
Vistage share who's out there who is in the process, those people that say yes, who believe in you and believe in Vistage before the team gets up and off the ground, that needs to be celebrated. So I want to lift up each and every one of my members and just have a real celebration of what we've done together. And it's their work. I am just honored and humbled to serve as their chair. They are each individually doing great things. And the best compliment that I can get is at the end of every meeting, if one or two of them say, wow, I can't wait for next month, right? I wish this would go on all day. That's the best compliment that a chair can ever hear.
What's the most impactful lesson that your members have taught you in this 10 months?
I can tell you they're very thoughtful, and whether this is unique to our group or not, I don't know. But when we first started the process, Eric, and Vistage members check in every meeting. And so I was leading them through that process. They check in how they are personally, professionally, and then health wise. And that first meeting, one of the members very lovingly and very kindly said, Ramona, we always want you to check in as well. And that was just, it almost made me cry. It still does today, right? That they see me as their chair, which is great. And I play that role, but they also see me as one of their teammates.
Yeah,
And
you're a
that is a
peer.
beautiful thing, right? I'm a peer. And that touched my heart. And it does continue to this day that we are in this together, that there's no power differential. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
And it's also one of those things that where you when you visit a lot of Vistage groups and when you talk to a lot of chairs, one of the things that you learn is that even though it's all Vistage and there are obviously a lot of things that hold uh, that go through every single group and every single level, but there's still so much of the group and the group experience that ends up getting defined by the chair and by the people that they bring into the room. And you can go to a Vistage meeting in two different states and or even two spots in the same city and have a completely different experience because so much of that culture in the room is unique to that room and to the people and to the chairs. So that's that's really cool, and I love you sharing that.
And for me, Eric, it's about listening to what the group wants. My group wants it to be a more intimate setting. My group wants it to be very confidential and private. I post on LinkedIn about what the group is doing, but I don't post pictures of the group because my group wants that to be a privacy issue. And as a therapist, I respect that. And so, I think as the chair, most importantly, I always remember that I've got two ears on this head and only one mouth for a reason, that I want to listen to them and what they want and how I can be that servant leader for them.
Well, Ramona, it has been absolutely fantastic getting to know you. Thank you so much for being my guest today. I really enjoyed this. What is the best way for folks to get in touch with you if they have questions about your group, about Vistage, about how they can get their insurance to cover this, any of that? What's the best way for folks to get in touch with you?
Yes. That's wonderful, Eric. Thanks so much. My email is Ramona, Ramona Wink, Wink, at vistagechair.com. And then my cell phone number is 319-212-0366. And I love to hear from people, whether it's another Vistage chair, or another Vistage member, or somebody in central Iowa who is just knowing that they're missing something and Vistage might be it. I love any conversation. And I'm just so thankful to have had this conversation with you. It means a lot.
Well, thank you for being a great guest, and I really enjoyed this.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Chairwaves. You can subscribe to our feed using Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your platform of choice. You can also visit chairwaves.com for more information. Chairwaves is hosted and produced by me, Eric Wolf, and to connect with me, you can visit my website at ewolf.live. That's EWOLF.live. And a disclaimer, while I love Vistage and CEO peer groups, this podcast is not owned by or affiliated with Vistage or any other peer organization. Thanks for listening.